15 billion streams, Grammy history, stadium tours worth over $400 million. By every metric that matters, Karol G is living the ultimate success story. But here's what those numbers don't tell you. The Colombian reggaeton superstar has paid a price for that success that almost destroyed her completely. We're talking about court battles over controversial lyrics that violated children's rights. A toxic relationship so damaging, she called it hell and a nightmare. Industry discrimination so severe, she described experiencing horrible things as a woman that she still won't fully discuss publicly. And mental health struggles so intense that she admitted wanting to die during the height of her fame. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the dark side of Karol G's meteoric rise. Because while the world sees the crown, they don't see what it costs to wear it. Before we dive into the shadows behind the spotlight, let's establish just how massive Karol G's success really is. Carolina Geraldo Navarro, known globally as Karol G, has rewritten the rules of what a Latin female artist can achieve. She became the first woman to win a Grammy for Best Música Urbana album. Her album Mañana Será Bonito made history as the first all-Spanish language album by a woman to debut at #1 on the Billboard 200. Her tour became the highest grossing by any Latin female artist in history. She's collaborated with Shakira, Bad Bunny, and Nicki Minaj. She's graced the covers of major magazines and walked Fashion Week runways. To the outside world, Karol G represents the perfect success story. A woman who broke every barrier and conquered a male-dominated industry. But success at this level comes with costs that most people never see. And for Karol G, those costs have been devastating. The first major crack in the perfect image came in November 2024, and it hit like a tsunami across Latin America. Karol G released Plus 57, a collaboration celebrating Colombian talent featuring J Balvin, Maluma, Fade, and other major artists. Named after Colombia's country code, it was meant to be a patriotic anthem showcasing the nation's musical talent. Instead, it became one of the most controversial songs in recent Latin music history. The problem was a single line in the lyrics, "A mamacita since 14." The reference to a 14-year-old girl in a song filled with sexual imagery and party scenes sparked immediate outrage. Critics accused the track of sexualizing minors and promoting harmful stereotypes about young Colombian women. The backlash was swift and brutal. Child welfare organizations condemned the song. Colombian government officials, including the culture minister, called it trivial, immature, and insignificant. The head of Colombia's child welfare agency claimed the lyrics reflected patterns of sex trafficking where young girls are lured to parties and become vulnerable to exploitation. Rolling Stone's Spanish edition called it a disaster. Social media exploded with criticism from fans and advocates who felt betrayed by an artist they'd supported. But the worst was yet to come. In April 2025, a Colombian high court made an unprecedented ruling. Plus 57 had violated the rights of children. The court issued a 14th-page decision mandating that Karol G and her collaborators must cease releasing music that contravenes the rights of children and adolescents. Think about that for a moment. A court of law officially ruled that Karol G's music was harmful to children. For an artist who had built her career on empowering women and challenging industry norms, this was devastating. Karol G quickly issued an apology, saying the lyrics were taken out of context, but acknowledging, "I still have a lot to learn. I feel very affected, and I apologize from the bottom of my heart." The song was eventually modified, changing since 14th to since 18th, but the damage was done. The controversy revealed how quickly success can turn into scandal, and how one song can threaten to overshadow an entire career. But the Plus 57 controversy was just the latest in a series of challenges that had been building for years. To understand the full scope of what Karol G has endured, we need to go back to 2021 and examine the relationship that she now describes as the darkest period of her life. In her Netflix documentary, Mañana Fue Muy Bonito, Karol G finally opened up about her relationship with Puerto Rican rapper Anuel AA, and what she revealed was shocking. "My past relationship was very toxic," she admits in the film. "Getting out of there, I would wake up and I felt like a person that had no value. I couldn't see success. I couldn't see greatness." The relationship, which lasted from 2018 to 2021, had looked perfect from the outside. They collaborated on massive hits like Secreto and Culpables. They were engaged, appearing to be reggaeton's ultimate power couple. Behind the scenes, Karol G was living through what she describes as hell. When what you're doing is suffering from something and you don't want to leave, so you don't suffer, and it was a nightmare, it was hell, she reveals in the documentary. The relationship became so damaging that it affected her ability to enjoy her own success. Her album KG 516 was performing incredibly well, but she couldn't celebrate it. "I didn't want anything," she told El País. "I didn't like what I was doing, and I didn't like what I was seeing." According to sources close to the situation, Karol felt suffocated in the relationship. Professional competition strained their bond, and the constant public scrutiny made everything worse. When they finally broke up in April 2021, the aftermath was brutal. Anuel AA made their split public during an emotional Instagram live, and what followed was a messy public breakup that played out across social media and in their music. The psychological toll was severe. "I wanted to die, I was crying horribly," Karol G admitted in a GQ interview. The depression was so intense that she questioned whether she could continue her career, but perhaps most painfully, the breakup continued to haunt her even after it ended. When Karol G started dating fellow Colombian singer Faid, Anuel AA released a diss track called Mejor Que Yo, clearly aimed at both of them. He made public statements during concerts, tagged her on social media, and continued to reference their relationship in interviews. The ongoing drama forced Karol G to take drastic steps. She purged her social media, deleting every photo with Anuel AA. She covered up the tattoo bearing his real name with a knife design, a symbolic severing of their connection. The toxic relationship had cost her years of her life, her mental health, and her ability to enjoy her own success. But it was just one part of a broader pattern of challenges that came with being a woman in the music industry. Even before the relationship drama and the Plus 57 controversy, Karol G was fighting battles that most people never knew about. As one of the few prominent women in reggaeton, she faced discrimination and sexism that she's only recently begun to discuss openly. "I've been through some really horrible things as a woman in the industry, but I don't even want to talk about that anymore because I don't want to victimize myself," she told Billboard. The fact that she won't elaborate on these horrible things suggests experiences so damaging that she's still processing them. The discrimination started early in her career. When she first approached record labels, executives told her directly, "You're a woman doing reggaeton, and that's not going to happen. But we want your lyrics. We want you being a composer for different artists." The message was clear. Women could write reggaeton, but they couldn't perform it. The industry wanted her talent, but not her presence. Even after breaking through, the challenges continued. Fashion brands ignored her for years, forcing her to buy her own clothes for events, while other artists of her caliber received free designer pieces. "Before this, I felt invisible in the fashion realm because I never received clothing from brands," she revealed. The sexualization and scrutiny were constant. "I still feel sexualized by the media," she admitted, describing how her body and appearance were constantly criticized and commented on rather than her musical abilities. In 2023, this came to a head with a GQ Mexico magazine controversy. The publication heavily edited her cover photo without her approval, making significant changes to her face and body. Karol G publicly called them out, saying they acted as if to look good. "I needed all those changes." The incident highlighted a broader problem. Even as a global superstar, she was still being told her natural appearance wasn't good enough. There were other incidents that revealed the ongoing discrimination. In 2025, when Karol G attended Paris Fashion Week and sat front row alongside Dua Lipa and Cardi B, some media outlets tagged everyone except her when posting about the event's notable guests. Ricky Martin had to call them out publicly, commenting, "Excuse me, but who are the ladies sitting next to at Karol G?" The snub wasn't accidental. It reflected a systematic tendency to overlook Latin excellence even when it's sitting in the front row. These experiences took a psychological toll that compounded with her personal struggles. The combination of industry discrimination, public scrutiny, and toxic relationships created a perfect storm of mental health challenges. By 2021, at the height of her career success, Karol G was privately falling apart. The depression that started during her relationship with Anuel AA deepened after their breakup. The constant public attention made healing almost impossible. "It was horrible," she said about dealing with heartbreak in the public eye. "The cyber attacks from people got worse. social media, which had helped build her career, became a source of additional trauma. Every post was dissected, every appearance analyzed, every relationship scrutinized. The pressure to maintain a perfect public image while privately struggling was overwhelming. "Not everything is about numbers and charts," she told CBS News. "It was hard because everybody was seeing that I was in the top of my career, but maybe inside I was losing like the most valuable things in my life." The isolation that comes with massive fame made everything worse. When you're a global superstar, it becomes harder to trust people's motivations, harder to form genuine connections, harder to find people who understand what you're going through. During quarantine, the depression deepened. All my concerts were cancelled. I thought everything was over. I became depressed, and it's a feeling I don't ever wish on anybody, she revealed. She began to doubt her abilities and worry that Tusa, her massive hit with Nicki Minaj, might be a one-hit wonder she could never surpass. The imposter syndrome was crippling. Despite all evidence of her talent and success, she questioned whether she deserved any of it. The mental health struggles affected her work. She couldn't enjoy her achievements, couldn't celebrate her victories, couldn't see past the pain to recognize her own greatness. "At one point, I didn't want anything," she admitted. "Love can make you feel like the happiest person in the world, but heartbreak can destroy your life. If you're not strong enough, heartbreak can confuse you so much that it can tear apart your career, personality, and self-esteem." That happened to me. For someone whose career was built on projecting strength and confidence, admitting this level of vulnerability was revolutionary, but it was also necessary for her healing. The turning point came when Karol G realized she had to choose between her pain and her future. And slowly, painfully, she began to fight back. Rather than hiding her struggles, Karol G made the radical decision to transform her pain into art and advocacy. Her album, Mañana Será Bonito, became a chronicle of her healing journey, with songs that spoke directly to other women going through similar experiences. "People have told me that they've been able to get through heartbreaks with my songs," she said, recognizing that her vulnerability had become a source of strength for her fans. The Netflix documentary represented another level of openness, showing the behind-the-scenes reality of her success. By revealing the messy, painful parts of her story, she challenged the myth that success equals happiness. On the industry discrimination front, she began using her platform more strategically. Her Concora Foundation launched initiatives focused on women's empowerment and mental health, including Rincón de la Calma, mental health spaces in schools across Latin America. She also became more selective about her collaborations and business partnerships, prioritizing relationships that aligned with her values over purely commercial opportunities. The GQ magazine incident became a teaching moment about body positivity and the importance of authentic representation. By calling out the unauthorized editing, she sparked conversations about beauty standards and the pressure on women to conform to unrealistic ideals. Even the Plus 57 controversy, devastating as it was, became an opportunity for growth. Her apology wasn't defensive, it was genuine acknowledgement of the impact of her words and a commitment to learning. "I listen, I take responsibility, and I realize that I still have a lot to learn," she said, modeling accountability in an industry where admitting mistakes is often seen as weakness. Through therapy, meditation, and surrounding herself with a supportive team, Karol G began to rebuild her mental health. She started prioritizing self-care over public appearances, setting boundaries with the media, and being more intentional about her public statements. The healing wasn't linear or easy. "Some days still hurt, some moments still haunt me," she acknowledges, but she developed tools for managing the pressure and protecting her peace. Her relationship with Fade represented a healthier approach to love, one based on mutual support rather than competition or control. "I experienced a new kind of love," she reflects, describing it as calm and respectful rather than intense and chaotic. But perhaps most importantly, she recognized that her struggles weren't unique. The music industry, particularly for women, and especially for women of color, creates conditions that are inherently traumatic. Recent research confirms what Karol G experienced firsthand. A 2024 study found that women in music face widespread gender discrimination, sexual harassment, and unequal opportunities. 3 in 5 women in music have been sexually harassed, and 1 in 5 have been sexually assaulted. The pressure to maintain perfection while dealing with these realities creates impossible conditions. Women are expected to be strong but not aggressive, sexy but not sexual, successful but not threatening. For Latin women like Karol G, the challenges are compounded by cultural expectations and language barriers. They're expected to represent their entire culture while also conforming to mainstream American standards. The mental health impact is severe and often ignored. The same industry that profits from these artists' vulnerability rarely provides adequate support for dealing with the consequences. What Karol G's story reveals is that success in the music industry, particularly for women, comes with costs that are rarely discussed publicly. The pressure, discrimination, and scrutiny create conditions that can be genuinely traumatic. Her willingness to speak openly about these experiences is changing the conversation by showing that even global superstars struggle with mental health, relationship trauma, and industry discrimination. She's giving permission for others to seek help. The fact that she timed her documentary release during Mental Health Awareness Month wasn't accidental. For Latina women who face higher rates of depression and often lack access to mental health resources, seeing someone who looks like them discuss therapy and healing is revolutionary. But the costs continue. Every achievement comes with new scrutiny. Every mistake is amplified. Every relationship is dissected by millions of strangers. The Plus 57 controversy showed how quickly success can turn into scandal. The court ruling created a permanent legal record questioning her judgment. The criticism from her own community was particularly painful. For someone who had worked so hard to represent Colombian culture positively, even her advocacy work attracts criticism. When she speaks about women's empowerment, she's accused of being political. When she discusses mental health, she's criticized for oversharing. The double bind is impossible. Be vulnerable enough to connect with fans, but not so vulnerable that you appear weak. Be strong enough to handle criticism, but not so strong that you seem ungrateful or arrogant. As Karol G continues to navigate these challenges, her story serves as both inspiration and warning. She's proven that it's possible to survive the dark side of success, but she's also shown us the real costs of achieving dreams in an industry that often consumes its biggest stars. Her journey from the grocery store bagger who uploaded songs to SoundCloud to the global superstar dealing with court battles and mental health struggles illustrates both the possibilities and perils of modern fame. The question isn't whether success is worth the cost. For many artists, the drive to create and connect with audiences makes the sacrifices inevitable. The question is whether the industry can evolve to better support its artists, particularly women and people of color, as they navigate these challenges. Karol G's willingness to discuss the dark side of her success isn't just personal healing, it's an attempt to change the system for the artists who come after her. By showing that vulnerability and strength can coexist, that success and struggle often intertwine, she's rewriting the rules about what it means to be a successful artist. Her story reminds us that behind every record-breaking achievement, every history-making moment, every triumphant performance, there's a human being dealing with very real challenges. And sometimes, the most revolutionary thing a successful person can do is admit that success isn't enough to protect you from pain. The dark side of Karol G's success isn't just her story, it's a mirror reflecting the costs that many artists, particularly women, pay for their dreams. And by bringing these costs into the light, she's making it possible for others to find their way through the darkness. If you found this exploration of the hidden costs of success compelling, subscribe for more deep dives into the stories behind the headlines. We analyze the human reality behind celebrity culture, because understanding the full picture makes us better equipped to support the artists we love, not just their music, but their humanity.